Says take a snapshot and share. Tom, hello.
Hello. All right.
I'm not hearing your voice.
Working. Hello.
Hi, Tom. Oh, there you are. What happened? Can you hear me, Tom?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hey. Hi.
Hey. Okay.
All right. So we got.
Can you see me?
I cannot see you.
Can this turn up? You cannot see me?
No. Can you see me?
Yeah, I do see you, and I see me in the little corner.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay. Huh. I wonder why.
You have a black T-shirt. You have a black T-shirt on. That should be proof.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out why. Okay. So that turned my camera off. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out why.
Now you're back.
You're back now.
Okay. Trying to figure out why I can't see you.
Yeah, I don't know why. Hold on a sec. Okay, there. Now she should come back.
Oh, hey, there we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, great. No, see, now, like, what I'm about to do is I'm about to. It looks like we have a viewer, so I'm able to essentially do a split screen, and there you are. You are now on the live broadcast out into the internet. All right, I think this is just about ready to go. So okay, so you can hear me. Sound level's pretty good.
I can hear you.
Okay. Excellent.
Hello, Tom Romcom.
TomCD-ROM.com.
CD-ROM.com. Okay.
Because if you're going to be outdated, you may as well really date yourself. That's what I would say.
Okay.
All right.
I'll be David Edison Cylinder then.
Okay. So all right. Yep. So like this is so right now this is broadcasting. Like the link to it is on Facebook, and it's also recording itself, and yeah. So like in my own head, I'm just trying to I'm figuring out the logic of this before we really get in depth here. I felt it was probably a good idea to sort of start it and then kind of figure out the bugs, and then we go from there. But let me just adjust my screen. Let's see how my mise en scene is here. Obviously we have the see, and because that's the thing with TV, you have to know which way to go. And I went this way when I should have went this way. As you see back here, we have the 1988 Total DEVO promo poster.
Oh yes, I see.
Sort of because I've been doing a lot of research on like these YouTube live show things, and really it's about not necessarily the technology of like what your set is like. It's just sort of like using depth and putting things that stand out. So that's why I've got this. That's why I've got the gold microphone here. And then
I see a gold microphone and a T-shirt back there somewhere too.
Oh yeah,
is that the Boogie Boy T-shirt? Okay.
No, that's that's Repo Man.
Oh, Repo. Okay.
I like that movie. Yeah, that's a really good movie.
Yeah, a fine film.
All right, and then to top it off, as far as like making this little virtual set, with the angle of the camera as it is, it allows me to sort of put objects here, and then so that way they can be in the frame. So like in the case of like this Jerry Lewis movie mug, this is sort of like kind of makes it my own, and also in kind of a certain way. Got to move that over there. All right, so I guess we'll get started here. This is the first official interview that I've done for my show, and as such a fan of a lot of this stuff, I've listened to many personal impromptu interviews, so it's only appropriate that I finally get to do one of my own. And of course, I am joined here with the one and only David Kendrick, who has had such a great career and continues to have a very strong creative output.
Hello. Yeah.
So
I am still at it.
So David, for everybody at home, who already knows, like where you came from and, like all those projects. What are you doing right now that really excites you? Because I know that you're always trying to do so many different things at once, but like what are you really focused on right now that's really got like your total focus?
Right this summer, actually, I'm doing another Empire of Fun record called Eon, Aeon, and this is another. I seem to get on these tangents where they turn into concept story cycles. This one is a 16-song piece that takes place in a fictional Western England at the beginning of the last century, before World War I, when the modern age is just creeping in, and it's a story, has kind of a pastoral horror undertones,
Sure,
kind of a little H.P. Lovecraft element, and follows characters through a story through 16 songs. So there's a couple different characters in it, and so it incorporates some folk music and some heavy dronal stuff and some kind of very noisy elements. And my friend Andy Preboy has actually fully orchestrated a song too. So it's a little bit schizophrenic, like some of the Empire of Fun stuff, but it's really enjoyable, and I have all kinds of great guests on it. I live in Los Angeles, as you know, but there's a lot of kind of young, kind of psychedelic musicians out here, and a number of them are playing different cuts on different songs. So it's been really fun to do. And I'm probably 70%, 80% of the way recorded, and then it's on to mixing and that. So that's my main thing for the rest of August.
Oh, that's
and then
great.
It's live. Yeah.
Well, obviously we we're gonna miss not having you at Devotional this year.
Yeah. Well, this year there's a couple things in the works, and there's the other kind of psych band, Revolushn. We're working on a third record, so there's nothing brand new out right now. But hopefully next year I'll have a couple of new things and maybe be able to do that. Yeah, this fall I'm starting up Revolushn things again, and maybe some Andy Preboy shows. And I still do the oddball Glenn Meadmore Experience thing. We're doing some shows in August too. So all told, it's
and I believe you've had like one or two kind of like mini symposiums at the Los Angeles County Public Library about psychedelic music.
Yeah, I do lectures there, that and film noir stuff. I get a bug about, and I actually host a film, like a once a month show of film noir classic one. So we have screening room and that. So I get to introduce them or have guests occasionally on there.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a good outlet for all my kind of eccentricities.
Right.
Share them with the world.
I remember you sending me the link, and I thought that was really cool. So as DEVO fans have learned just in this last week, our good friend Del J at Futurismo made the announcement of the 30th anniversary Total DEVO re-release with 2 CDs or 2 LPs.
Oh wow, nice, yeah.
Did you know about that?
I knew it was coming, but yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
It should be really exciting to just to hear the stuff that hasn't been heard before from that.
Yeah, there were more.
That album.
Yeah, there definitely a lot of stuff getting worked on and left in various stages. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
So like when you were coming into DEVO, and I believe it was 1986, right?
Yeah.
At that point, so like starting in 1986, you were actually working there too, and that sort of helped develop the relationship at Mutato Musica.
86, they still had the studio space in Marina del Rey, and I had recorded there a lot. Bob too was engineering a lot of things I was working on too. But when they asked me to join, there were songs in various stages of completion, and some things, I played added to. Some things were full tracks. There were a lot of songs in different stages. The Smooth Little Maps was actually everything kind of starting from scratch.
Right. Yeah. Less machines.
Yeah. Yeah. So there were machine tracks. There was there were drum machine tracks on some of them that I replaced and added to, and then some tracks were from scratch. It was kind of almost on a track by track basis.
I bet.
Went. Yeah.
And you had certainly had at that point like a lot of really good experience with percussion, using live drums down to sampling the bottle cap on the concrete.
Sure.
Which I think is really brilliant. Or of course, what for any Sparks fans watching or listening, perhaps like one of the best moments of the say like 81 to 86 Sparks era, which would have to be I believe sheet metal being hit for the song "Change" during the bridge.
Yeah, well, there were a few songs, where got to do interesting percussion. In the first record I did, there was a song called "Upstairs" that we recorded in Munich, and the studio Musicland was in the basement of a hotel, and adjacent to it was a subway that was being worked on, and the studio ultimately a few years later closed. But so there was this huge hallways that had amazing reverb, obviously,
right.
And I got to go out there and slam boards against the wall and knock metal pipes against metal pipes, and a lot of that got used in that Upstairs song. That was extremely fun to do. I love serendipitous moments of just stuff that's around the studio. That's one thing I like about recording at my house is I have a couple of cats. I have a couple of cats that have added.
Well, that's great.
Meows and stuff too. So.
Yeah. So fascinating. Now, something that I think like a lot of people who are in Sparks, maybe a question that is a little bit more in depth as opposed to just like a one sentence answer. But I really liked when you told me about like what it was like in real life to be around the Mail Brothers and how pretty much like they're inseparable. So like when people see these like album covers and they kind of wonder if it's sort of a shtick or it's something that's not real, it's actually quite the opposite. They are pretty much like linked in
ways. In the years I was with them, they do not live together, but they every day they get together, and it's for recording or just going for coffee. I would always say they were kind of like symbiotic twins. They were sort of a complete unit together. And and to this day, I think that's kind of their arrangement. They live, a mile or two away from each other. And their entire adult life has been Sparks and making music. And that's, earlier on, before Russell, before they recorded everything themselves, Ron wrote pretty much most of the lyrics. He always put the words in his brother's mouth, I would always say.
Right. Yeah.
But true, but Russell now kind of does a lot of the engineering when they're working at his house at Paragon. So.
Oh, fascinating.
So they're absolutely inseparable, and all that can finish each other's sentences. All that stuff is true. Very much, yeah.
Now, like, also as a huge fan of that period of Sparks, the 81 to 86 era, in addition to Sparks in general, I'm really hoping like a few years ago when they did that tour where each night they would play their albums in succession. I remember.
Oh, right, in London they did, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember you saying that you were actually like you really wanted to play, those albums that, live, but unfortunately, like the logistics just couldn't quite meet.
Yeah, I'd mentioned it. I mean, and they even talked about it, I guess, briefly. But yeah, it just setting it in London and
Right.
getting a hold of it. I mean, it was really kind of an impossible thing. But it would have been fun to play. I would have loved to play all the way up to my period. It would have been fun. But anyway,
definitely.
they did that setup.
Right, yeah. Well, I definitely, it's really interesting how sometimes when you're talking about serendipitous collisions, if you will, I do still really hold out personal hope for many factors. Of course, for you, and then because I like Sparks so much, and I love that period of Sparks, I really hope that someday you do get to be, once again, behind the kit, and that would just be like the most magical thing in the world.
Yeah, it'd be fun to do. I mean, I'm still in the game, still at it, so I never say never.
Yeah,
for sure.
Did you hear recently the DEVO John Waters Burger Boogaloo show down in in San Francisco?
That was a show in Berkeley. Yeah, I guess that was their only live thing this year. But yeah,
did they?
I knew.
Did you get asked to do that?
No, I didn't hear from them about it. Which I would have been game. But yeah, it was kind of a one-off thing, I guess. So, but yeah, it would have been fun to do.
Yeah. So, with this 30th anniversary of Total DEVO, and I believe, I think in like late September, that was when the tour for that year. For that album started, right? Well, September, October '88.
Yeah. That was the first branch of it was just North America only for that one. That group hadn't played live for a while, so there were logistic things and that. But what I enjoyed about it, for me being new to it, was there was no props, very little staging. It was just playing again. Yeah. So.
Which leads me to, I guess, as we're dancing around this interview, going from more, let's say, questions for the casually minded person, and now switching to a total DEVO question, if you will. One that you mentioned to me a long time ago that of course I've never forgotten, and I've also briefly talked to Jerry about it, which in a way could kind of go back to the whole idea with the 30th anniversary Total DEVO that the second disc is going to have songs we haven't heard, or who knows what kind of stuff. So kind of in that line, I believe you told me that before that tour started, when you were rehearsing songs to play, at one point, Some Things Never Change was practiced and was at some point considered.
It was considered, yeah. That song has a number of kind of mechanical sounds, but part of the thing was mixing. It was going to be live drums again. That was something I didn't really want to do it unless it was actually a lot of playing. So it was figuring out what songs kind of worked. Originally, too, the show started acoustic, and then went into the electric set. So there were we played around with a couple other songs. Doesn't matter to me. A couple other kind of mid-period ones that I think Feelings. There were a few that we tried,
but then right
to keep patterns, yeah, to keep the. It ultimately, and it ended up. That section didn't want it to be too long, too much of the show. So,
right, yeah.
It was feeling stuff out too. We had played. Actually, the very first live thing I did with them was. I don't know if you know about Visiting Kids.
Right.
The little
project.
We were Visiting Kids was playing a show with. we played at the Roxy, with Henry Rollins was hosting an evening, and DEVO came. We came out unannounced and actually played pre-first album, very early hardcore DEVO song. So we did Bamboo Bimbo and a number of those. I Need a Chick.
More risque songs, perhaps.
Yeah, more risque songs. Yeah. So
provocative, evocative.
Conceptually, it was fun. I mean, that was my first live show with them. Was playing the very earliest songs too. So, but then again, I think maybe we never thought about trying those in the set. So, but we played and recorded a few of those parts on them.
Were there any other songs from Total Devo that were perhaps considered live? So it would have been Baby Doll and Happy Guy, and then like Disco Dancer. So then also
Somewhere.
Some Things Never Change was considered. Like, were any other songs?
I think it was, Somewhere was in there. I think we messed around with Morning Dew for a while, I think.
Oh, that would have been amazing. That would have been so good.
Yeah. But again, it was sort of, it's any group that has a history of that many records wanted to pick and choose throughout.
Sure.
And they were, the idea at that point, starting acoustic and then going electric, also kind of circumvented doing too many of the new songs.
True, very true.
But we did, but it ended up with the Disco Dancer and Somewhere Sweet was, I think 15 minutes long or something. So that was quite a big chunk too.
Yeah, which I thought was, that was a really interesting thing for that period of Devo.
Yeah, the stuff that was, technology-wise, there were a couple, there any kind of rumblings and certain percussion things, and I think an occasional bass line, whatever was sequenced, it was kind of primitive on I think at a point, at first, it was even on some kind of cassette mechanism that would play through speakers for us.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
So there were possibilities of mishaps in that more so than later on.
Exactly.
So.
Right. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. That was one of the reasons we that tour was, it was just Devo. There was no opening thing, so I can still see the gold microphone.
All right, I had to run and
Had to refresh.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm also trying to pick through other information that I felt was relevant, or something that maybe a lot of fans haven't learned yet.
Yeah.
Now, like in my opinion, one of my favorite Devo costume / uniforms, which, thank you for those times that you've let me actually wear it, because it really means a lot to me.
Oh yeah.
The Devo World Service uniforms designed at Muto Little in Hollywood, and really, really great uniform. Now, I believe you said that you actually contributed to that uniform because you found the belts and also to the
belts.
dash neckties at, what was it, War Baby, or that store on
Melrose? There was a store on Melrose that had unusual garb, some military garb from other countries. So I think these were, I don't know, Czechoslovakian army belts or something.
Oh,
they
that's
had
great.
Very unusual, awesome. Very unusual patterned front. Yeah. So that was quite fun. There were they also designed shorts, which I don't think we wore more than once or twice, but they were long shorts as well.
Right.
On that look, yeah.
So when you contribute that little necktie, which in my opinion really completes that uniform as far
dash.
As it's, because with that uniform, it definitely has that. I mean, I think as far as Devo outfits go, and not just aesthetic, but also kind of relating to the larger concept, I've always thought that those ones were very good, because it looks very utilitarian.
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
they're
like
definitely.
a more kind of basic, kind of common way, but then you also have the nice little patches on the lapels, which are very, very, very chic and just very cool. And then of course, with that little dash necktie, it just sort of gives it this look that it's like it's work, but it's Devo, and what the
Yeah,
hell does that
there's a
mean? Like I want to know what that means. That's why it's definitely thought provoking in that way.
there's a quirk, but it's very utilitarian. But it's also there's a fashion element to it for sure.
Right, exactly.
Also, it was I think so I was told it was one of the more comfortable. They had uniforms previous. They had costumes previous that were not quite as kind under lights. Certainly, the hair pieces and things were at times were kind of uncomfortable.
Yes,
But this was a little easier on the physique. So
right, exactly. Yep.
yeah.
And then the 1990, because and that's something too for the obsessive fans out there. The Total Devo uniforms were actually worn up until 1990. I believe before you guys went on tour to Europe, where they had those white Tyvek shirts and the shorts. You guys were still wearing the red Total Devo uniforms up until 1990.
For any, yeah.
Live.
Yes, definitely were. And around the house now. But
I bet. Understandable.
yeah.
Now with I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just to say, the final look was more of a suit, the multicolored suit, all the same suit but just different colored versions.
I believe that was from what Jerry told me that the design was kind of.
It's based on a Comme des Garçons jacket.
Like from Japan, right?
Right.
And then Jerry said he kind of, I guess, sort of in his mind, kind of like reworked it a bit, and that's what became the Smooth Noodle Naps postmodern man suits. Right. And
and unfortunately, those got this story, but I mean the label Enigma was having issues and kind of went under essentially while we were in Europe. So there was going to be much more touring in the States and that never came to fruition because of the enigmatic nature of Enigma records at that point, I guess.
Yeah, like appropriate corporate names for 100.
Yeah. I mean, they were very good. They were distributors, essentially, and had, a lot of good labels through the years. But so they were kind of wending the waters through Capitol for as a record label. And I don't know, kind of bit off more than could be handled at that point. Unfortunately, because I've always said that Smooth Noodle Maps for me was that's the great lost record. I like from my era of them. That's the one I kind of liked the most and seemed to be it's heard the least. Never got a lot of play. It was just West Coast, really, in the U.S. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. This just happened to be right in front of me as I'd been listening to it earlier. But this is the, I think it was, I can't remember if it was Holland or where, but this was the, the import red vinyl version.
Okay.
Which
nice.
Which has a really good sound to it and is fairly rare. Yeah, and like just what you were saying about Smooth Noodle Naps, it seemed like one of those cases because of, like the tour that happened in Europe, but, I mean, as opposed to the U.S., by that point, like anybody who knows the story knows that, nobody really cared about Devo. It was, it was essentially, in a lot of people's minds, it just kind of, like the joke had, I guess, had essentially eaten itself. But actually, if I remember correctly, this album seemed to be a lot more popular in Europe, which, especially makes sense because of the tour that happened over there.
Yeah. I mean, we played in, I think, 8 or 9 countries. We were pretty much all over. But yeah, I mean, on the Devo career arc, yeah, this was kind of at the I guess a lower ebb, you'd say. And Mark, by this time was just dipping his foot into commercials and TV, and it just seemed like, if your label folds right when your new record comes out, some cosmic force is telling you maybe to rethink your plans. I mean, up to that point, and that was really the last time DEVO were really trying to be a full-time band in popular culture, and that was the job. And since then, after that period, it would be once in a while, or maybe for a week or two here, but it was never the full-on force that it was. So that period, I think kind of was the last attempt at staying out in the world, full on, and then it kind of since that stepped back, and everyone else had other projects going as well.
Would you say, based on that perhaps after like with the label folding and not really a whole lot of priority being put on DEVO, like, do you think in a way that sort of changed Mark? Like he like maybe like 2 years after Total DEVO, he puts a lot of hard work into what he considers to be something he likes, but just the overall reaction to it, and just kind of the headache of all this stuff that I just wanted to sort of be done with it. Not to say that he doesn't like doing DEVO or anything like that, but maybe it just kind of changed him, where he just felt like he's kind of tired of getting shafted in this, and especially
absolutely. At that point, he could, Mark was getting offers to start doing things, and he could literally work at his house. And it was, compared to slogging around in Europe and not making a lot of money, it was very simple. He was kind of writing pretty much everything. People early on would come to to Mark Mothersbaugh because he was Mark Mothersbaugh. It wasn't just to because someone wanted anybody to score a show. You were being asked specifically because you were going to be a little left of center and bring whatever it is you bring to the table. So yeah, without question, it was far easier, and there was a band dynamic drama pretty continually, and with sets of brothers and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it was much easier, and they had a break previous to my joining as well, a couple years off. So yeah, that was the case.
Brothers, right?
Brothers, yeah. I've paired up with brothers a number of times through my professional career.
Oh, and by the way, for Andy Preboy and Wall of Voodoo fans, how is Andy doing right now? Because I know there's a lot of people that still really love him a lot, and I hope that he knows that.
Oh, well, that's good. Thank you for that. Yeah, he had a rough last year. His mom passed, and there was just we had our long-term bass player Tony Kinman passed away earlier this year. Not fully unexpected, but it was a very aggressive form of cancer. So there's been, this grown-up shit that's just not supposed to be happening to young men like us. So.
Exactly.
But anyway, so I'm actually going to Andy's tomorrow, Sunday.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Like, what's going on?
So, well, we're just going to hang out tomorrow.
Yeah? That's great.
Vegan barbecue and
I'm so jealous.
But he's making gestures at being asked about shows again. So who knows? We have another bass player, another friend of mine, Bill Tutton, has done things with us too. So we're going to talk about that. But anyway, yeah, thank you for the kind message. I think he's maybe going to be dipping his toe back in at some point again.
That's very good to hear.
Actually, I was extremely happy to have him score and write he did the music for one song on my Eon Empire of Fun project. So we have he's got a co-write on that record. So that's been pretty fun to do.
Now, speaking of Empire
yeah,
of
I
Fun,
love Andy.
Now, speaking of
Yeah.
Empire of Fun, now you said that you're recording a new album right now?
Yes, Eon. It's essentially Steve Summers and myself, and then a number of guests, which is kind of how they work these days. The guy from Shoo Shoo and Shannon Lay sang some songs. A guy named Emmett Kelly who works with Ty Segall these days. A lot of people have played on various tracks. So we have, some of it's acoustic and some is really noisy psychedelic drones mimicking dark forces lurking underneath the ground and coming to the surface. So anyway,
you know what?
Yeah,
if I didn't know any better, I would swear I was talking to David Kendrick right now. Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, that sounds like that description. Yep, that is the David Kendrick. That's a David Kendrick that just is. I love it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, and I mean, hopefully, I'm now. There's still rumors from my Gleaming Spires days that Futurismo. We haven't talked in a little while about it, but he had certainly mentioned at some point doing a retrospective set of all the Spires stuff too. So that's maybe in the cards sometime in the future as well.
Well, that's great because
we were after all the very first Futurismo release, the Songs of the Spires.
Oh, that's fascinating. Which is a very good release with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was talking to him. I was just talking to him, and he unfortunately wasn't able to come this year either.
Right.
Next year though, I think if we can get
maybe we can all coordinate next year. That'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with that. With that Total DEVO, the new Total DEVO release, and whatever kind of Spires stuff is going to happen, which of course I'm also very excited for.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'd be game. Yeah, count me in. All right. Yeah.
Well, it was funny you mentioned vegan ribs because right now the Jazz and Rib Festival is happening here in Columbus, and about a year ago on the Vegan Columbus Facebook group, I mentioned, are there any good vegan ribs? Because somebody's gonna, realize that that could be very popular and make a lot of money. So
I think so.
I mean, you essentially just take yeah. Oh, I was just saying, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it was last year actually. We going to the devotional. We passed there's some tofu factory already in Cleveland. So I don't know. There could be a framework there, but yeah, I mean, so much stuff, barbecue, so much of what people like. Anyway, not to get long-winded about it, but it is all the seasonings and the other stuff. So I think it could be marketed successfully and do the world a lot of good and someone a lot of good too.
Yeah, for sure. Business. I mean, because I think about it, you just take all of those, traditional barbecue things, and it wouldn't even really be that hard to do vegan versions of them.
Oh no, not at all. I mean, there's certainly versions of Beyond Burgers and all that stuff now that seem to pass muster even with carnivores. I know. So.
So David, how long have you been a vegetarian, or now vegan, perhaps?
Well, I've been vegetarian for 25 years, probably quite a long time. Quite a long time. My wife is fully vegan. I still like milk in my espressos. That's kind of my last line, but
last line of.
But yeah, that's my coffee. That's my main vice these days.
Main vice, yeah. Well, actually,
coffee culture and espresso machine technology is excellent. So that's the one thing in the world. That's the one thing in the world today. most happy about.
Which is also which is actually how you originally met the Mail Brothers, right? It was at the Grove because the Grove was the only
Oh
place
yeah,
that had
yeah.
that had espresso, right? And you just happened to again one of those serendipitous like once in a lifetime events.
Yeah, it was one of the few espresso bars in the 1980 in Los Angeles at the farmers market. It was one of the few espresso machines in town. So yeah, that was it. So yeah, so coffee has served me well through the years. Yes.
Well, like it certainly shows in what I would describe as your like definitely like this cathartic ball of just pure drumming energy and like I think that when people see you play the drums, it's one of those things where you can as somebody's watching you play, you can see sort of like not just the physical but also the mental and most importantly the spiritual level that you put into every accent and that's why
Well,
you are
I,
who you are and people love that.
yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, as a drummer, I think as also a guy who is a lyricist, I'm kind of always looking at the entire whole song, not just following bass and drum part or that. And I like as a I think of drums as a roadmap to the song, and when there's sort of a new part coming up, I don't mind telegraphing it. I like showing that something is going to come up, and there's a little bit of a preamble, as opposed to just playing straight all the way through. I think it's important to let people know there's something right around the bend, something happening, and to help bring it into play. So.
Like one of my favorite examples of that would probably be on Walk On Well Lighted Streets, the song Fun Type.
Yes.
Which is a great song, and you can definitely hear the beginnings of kind of going into the kind of like movie score, you know, like, I mean, almost in a way like you can like hear the story that's happening just with the like the music and especially like the drum part.
Oh, thank you.
Like
Yeah.
in addition to of course the lyrics and you know, very awesome song for Gleaming Spires fans out there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
I'm also quite partial
Yeah.
to the Bates Motel, well, technically Bates Motel, but then used for School Spirit song. Here comes Here comes Mr. Fun Hog. That's like the best song I've ever heard.
Wow, that's an obscurity. Yeah, I think that I don't know. That's one. If we do this whole Spires retrospective, that's a song maybe that should end up on there. There was no soundtrack to that film. There was a Spires were in a number of
Movies.
the so-called teen comedies of that time.
Which one was your?
And we were even on one record with DEVO as well, I think, on Last American Virgin, way before my time with them.
Yeah, I was going to say the reason that I went off camera for a moment was I was trying to find my Get Crazy LP soundtrack.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Which from what you told me, basically whoever was producing the music or trying to get the artists for the soundtracks, they essentially went through you and Les to get to their target Sparks.
Oh, that was actually another. That was
a
another
different
movie called Bad Manners. I think it was.
That was the who was that? Martin Mull movie.
Yeah, he's in that. Yeah. So we had one song. Yeah, and Ron and Russell kind of ended up doing most of the score, but we do as Gleaming Spires. There's a song we do on there too that Ron wrote the lyrics for. So there's some oddball Spire stuff that if we could ever collect a whole record, there's a couple unreleased things, and then all the number of videos and that. So I think it'd be a nice collection because some of that's been out of print for many decades. So.
Do you ever now speaking of serendipitous things or coincidences or going into that now in 1985, Sparks was on like arguably like one of the best 80s soundtrack compilation soundtracks, Fright Night, with your song
Oh, yeah.
"Armies of the Night." Now, how interesting was it that the first side of that record, so like the last song on the A side was DEVO, "Let's Talk," and then the first song of the B side was Sparks, "Armies of the Night." Now, how interesting is that you guys
Yeah,
ended
that
up
was pretty
like
odd.
that?
As I said before, it's funny. There were a few inklings. I don't know, like on that last American Virgin, there was DEVO and Gleaming Spires. So it seems like somewhere in the cosmos, I was being sent signals or something. I don't know.
Let's see. I think I've just got a few more questions for you.
Okay.
Now, like when you first started hanging out, like with DEVO, like in 1986, were you there when Mark was working on his first movie score, Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise?
No, I was. My ends to them were socially with Bob too. We had friends in common, and through visiting kids. So with playing with Bob, Mother's Bob, and Nancy Ferguson, who was Mark's girlfriend at the time. So, and then also, so recording at the DEVO studio on other projects of mine, like Electric Sheep, other things that Bob was just recording. So, I mean, I was around with a couple of them, but no, I wasn't around at that when Mark was doing that first film thing. But in the after DEVO stopped playing, I stayed working at Mutado in their earliest days for a lot of the commercials and a number of shows through Disney, and writing lyrics and underscoring for a couple years. Did that.
Beekman's World, right?
Yeah, Beekman's World and Adventures in Wonderland. There were a couple, yeah.
Which is so fascinating that just like Mark and like a lot of other like your peers, especially for people like around my age, when you were doing that, we were very active television watchers. So you were influencing people like me years before we had gotten really into DEVO and then gone down that rabbit hole through Sparks and Gleaming Spires and ending up where we are now. So that is that is really cool how you guys were doing that, and and that's why to this day we revere you so much.
Okay, well, thank you. Mark, I think, at times has said there was something very DEVO and subvertive about doing music for kids. It was, when you were asked to do it, you're given a little more leeway, and you had a little. Some of the shows were pretty interesting. So Rugrats and that had pretty interesting music, and some was very good to do. So, thanks.
Of course. Okay, yeah. Looks like we have one. Okay, so let's say one this on one question from the audience here. Now this is a pretty specific.
Right.
This is a pretty specific DEVO question, but it's not like you're not already warmed up. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so this is pretty specific. All right. Okay. So it looks like my friend Vincenzo is asking from Niles, Ohio. Asks, were there any other songs from Shout considered for the live shows you did besides Here to Go, which was played at Perkins Palace on your birthday in '91?
I don't think so. Shout, again, that had sort of left a little bit of a bitter taste in everyone's mouth with the end of the Warner Brothers time and the problems with the Are You Experienced. So I think that was not the album that was getting revisited the most. So I don't recall anything else from that being looked at. No, I know that album didn't get played live, and they were kind of at that point not really ready to visit it. They wanted to move further on.
Okay.
I mean, we never talked about doing Are You Experienced or anything like that. So no.
Okay. David, do you remember Scott Orsi from last year from the Spud Boys?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, he actually just wrote a comment too. Scott Orsi from Illinois writes, "Thanks again for sitting in with us for Spin the Wheel and Beautiful World at the devotional last year. Both were a
oh my gosh, yeah.
both were a definite highlight of the event. Hope to see you in 2019."
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do too. I mean, I'd love to come back next year. So hopefully, yeah. And I'll have some new stuff. Yeah, there'll be reasons to do it. So no, last year was very fun. I mean, I got to play in about four different versions of things. It was very enjoyable. Got to play with Jerry and play a Gleaming Spires song. The whole event was pretty fun. So
well, that's really cool.
Hats off to Nick and everyone. I hope it goes good this year.
That's right. And if you're just joining us, we've been talking with David Kendrick, who's been very kind to me in many ways, and especially for being my first big interview on here. And again, like we're just about wrapping up here at about an hour. So wow, I gotta say, like if I'm playing the devil's devil's advocate against myself, I have to be saying right now, like, wow, you certainly have a lot of patience to answer a lot of very specific, obsessive, like, Devo fan type questions, but you also do have a very, very good memory, so which is very cool.
Well, I understand obsessive, so that's no problem for me. So,
like any new additions to your condom collection?
No, not a lot recently. No, that's. I need to go to a few new countries, Bhutan or I don't know, Iceland. Iceland must have condoms. That'd be good. But no, I've been a little bereft in the new condom editions. Yeah, sorry to say. Other collections are moseying along. I don't know if you can see behind me, but we have many electric guitars. This household is big on 1960s crazy Japanese guitars, so we have about 40 of them, I think, now.
40? Wow.
Yeah. My son has inherited some of our collector genes, so he's into this too. So so that's been taking up most of the purchasing time recently. That and books.
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 More so the medical oddity type, or like what?
Medical oddity, crime fiction.
Right.
Graphic novel. A lot of stuff. Yeah. Yep.
Did you see the My Friend Dahmer movie?
No, I did not.
Have you read the graphic novel?
Yes, yeah. So,
okay,
yeah.
Well, they filmed that movie in Ohio a couple years ago. I'm actually in it for quite a few scenes.
My. Oh, you didn't tell me that. Okay.
So it was just pure coincidence. They sent out like a casting call, email, because I was part of the casting group, because they were supposed to do the casting for a Hollywood movie that was being made in Columbus, but they ended up not, but I was still on their mailing list, so they sent out a casting call. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this. It's like, I'm almost 30 years old, and I was sure that I wasn't going to, get it, but by the end, I was actually more or less one of the, like, featured extras in it, so I was in quite a few scenes of it, and it was all shot in Ohio, too, and, like, a lot of like, real-life Dahmer contacts are in the movie, and we're sort of, like, creative consultants, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So if you watch it, you'll definitely see me in some scenes, and they also liked me because I had my entire own, like, wardrobe of, like, of original 70s clothes that I wear anyway. So
but of course.
So it was very fun to sort of, like, not only go back to my own teenage days, but also sort of get to try to epitomize, like, kind of like live vicariously, through a period that I hadn't even been born in yet, but that we were portraying. So it was a lot of fun, and yeah. Yeah, so that's
Ah.
that was something I did a couple years ago. But once again, though, thank you very much for doing this. And after devotional happens, of course, I'll keep you posted on things. And hopefully,
Yeah.
and hopefully, you can play live at some capacity next year, whether it be whether it be Empire of Fun, or the other group that you've been doing lately, Revolushn, which
The
I think,
Revolushn. Yeah,
which I
something.
think
Yeah.
would be, they're not necessarily like a Devo cover band, but something that I would say is definitely in my own personal stratosphere of like really cool, fun and exciting music, which is like one of those core tenets of Devo music. So I'm hoping I'm hoping something like that will happen, and I have a very good feeling it will.
All right. Well, on that note, that'd be good. I mean, I'd love to come back next year. So, and there'll be new things out. So I think there's good reason to do it.
Right, exactly.
So, all right. Well, this has been very fun, Tom.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, David. I really appreciate that.
Okay.
We'll have to do it again soon. I hope you have fun.
Yeah, if we ever do this again, maybe I'll have some new. Maybe you could add a song or two, something new. Nothing is mixed yet, but
yeah, that's definitely possible because
fun.
with this technology, I could actually go in and for the audience play video clips, and I could probably figure out a way to play songs too. So if you wanted to play a song and then talk about it, or something like that, just really kind of basic television ideas that now you can do from your own living room, which is pretty cool in its own right.
Sounds good. All right.
Well, thank you very much, David. I really appreciate it. I hope you have fun at Andy Preboy's house tomorrow, which sounds like the most fun day ever. Geez.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
thank you.
So what are you doing tomorrow? Oh, I'm gonna go have vegan ribs at Andy Preboy's house. Oh, that sounds like a pretty normal weekend.
Pretty normal. Yeah. All right. Thanks, and see you good. Have a good devotional this year. And thanks, everyone.
Thank you, David.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Okay. It says take a snapshot and share.